Hi, this is Dr. B, and this is a short video that discusses the final learning report assignment and will point you to some resources that will help you to complete that assignment. So for this final assignment, you're going to write a learning report. The reason I do this is that in order to truly learn something, we have to know what we've learned. We have to be able to access that information so we can use it later. There are two ways we can do this. The first is through recall, that's what testing is. So that's why you take tests in most college classes, and your final exam usually goes over questions that you maybe were asked earlier in the semester. They're testing your ability to recall that information so that you can use it again later. I don't use tests in my class because this is a writing class. It's an applied class, and I feel like the best way to really recall those skills is to reflect. So this is an opportunity for you to think about the work that you've done this semester, the skills that you've practiced, and what you're taking away from you. And while I am going to give you some specific instructions and how I want this report to look, I want you to know that I don't want a generic report. I want a individual report, and it's going to be different for each person. So there are some general rules for the report that you need to follow, but I want you to realize that the best way to do well on this assignment is to make it individual to you. What you knew coming into this class and what you know now. What are you taking away with you? What work did you do? What are you proud of? The idea here is that this is not a course evaluation. This is not about me. This is about what you did. My job as a teacher is to design meaningful learning experiences, guide you through those experiences, and give you feedback so that you understand where you are in relation to the skills of the class. But you have to do the really hard work of all the learning, all the assignments, and everything we've done this semester. And each and every one of you has done a lot of work this semester, so I know that you've practiced or developed some skills over the course of the semester that I want you to be able to take with you and use again in the future. So this is your chance to first engage in the act of reflection and then show me what you know, not only in terms of the content that you're writing in the report, but in showing me in how you actually write and design the report, right? So you're not just talking about what you learned by talking about what you did, but you're also taking everything we've learned this semester and you're actually using that to create this report. So I give you some general instructions here. Essentially what you're going to do is write a report formatted as an internal memo between you and me. It needs to have an introduction, body, and conclusion. The body itself is going to be structured around 3 to 5 things. That can be learning objectives of the class or specific skills or things that you learned, even if it's not something that maybe I've enumerated in the syllabus or, anything like that, but you still learned. Like, for example, time management is not a learning objective of this class, but sometimes people mention that in their reports. Okay, so I give you some specific instructions here. It's really important to read, kind of through the task here. It gives you some really good, instructions on how to write the report. I give you some tips and some criteria for success. These are really important because this is a completion grade, but completion doesn't mean whatever you turn in, you get a 100. The idea here is that I do have these criteria and these standards that I want you to achieve, but this is very individual to you. And I want you to feel like you have the freedom and the space to talk about what you truly learned. And so to do that, that's why I make it a completion grade. So if you do exactly what I'm asking you to do and it's unique and in depth and all those things, you'll get a 100 because I don't want you to feel like I'm judging what you've learned. I mean, you can't really tell someone, no, you didn't learn that, right? It is up to you what you've learned. So that's why I make it a completion grade, but you got to follow the instructions and you need to do this, a really good job and to the best of your ability. So on this page here, like this is the description. I have this page, final learning report in Canvas under modules, and I'm going to post this video and the slides here. And then I have two examples. I just pulled these two examples. They're recent from a recent semester, and these students agreed to let me use them. I really could have posted 100. There have been such good examples throughout the years, but that's overwhelming. I give you these examples because I know everyone likes to kind of have an idea of what they're working toward, but it's really important that you don't use these as a template, because what makes these so good, aside from the fact that they do embody a professional and technical document, as we've discussed this semester, but they're also unique. So they, for example, they have an information hierarchy, a good document design, they use information chunking, they use white space well. So, they're concise, they're active, all those things we've talked about this semester. They're detailed, they have examples, they're thorough, they use specific examples from their work, all of those things make it a really good example. But they're also unique, right? So for this person talks about perpetual self-critiquing and feedback. She's putting what she learned in her own words. That's not a learning objective of the class necessarily. So, that's one thing that makes these things so good, is that they really are in the words of the learner, and they really are something that is very individual to them, and then not anybody can write. So don't use them as a template, because if you do that, then you're not writing something that's unique to you, you're writing something that's unique to someone else. So read through these, and I think you'll see why, they're engaging and interesting, and they are unique to that person. One is more detailed than the other. They both, for example, have good document design, good document structure, and they do both use examples. This one does name specific examples, and this person does use, screenshots, which is a great way of incorporating examples into the document. But you'll see they're not very, they're thorough, but it's not super long. This person really wrote in depth, because this person was also sort of talking about their thinking process and just went into a lot more depth. They're both very good. So you don't necessarily have to create something super long to do this well, but they both are very specific. They're both in their own words. They both use specific examples. I just want to let you know that there's different ways to approach this assignment. Writing something that's, 4 pages is not necessarily going to mean a 100, just like you don't necessarily have to write 9 pages to get 100. So they didn't just tick off the boxes, right? They actually just, they did hit the criteria, but they were more focused on creating a cohesive story with really good examples that was really unique to them. And some people write more concisely, and some people write more fully. So it's not about arbitrary page limits either, okay? So I wanted to show you 2 very different ways of doing this, not because I want you to use these as templates, but to kind of just give you an idea of what you're working toward, and to show you that there are different ways to do well on this assignment, but there are some commonalities as well. Good document design, specific examples, embodying all the things that we've practiced this semester. One of the ways to kind of miss on this assignment is to tell me something like, I learned document design, but then there's no document design anywhere in the report, right? So think about not just the content is what you learned this semester, but how you write it and how you design this report is also showing me what you learned this semester. What did you learn this semester? So I have created these really in-depth slides. I was originally going to create a video, but when I go over these in class, it's over 30 minutes, and I don't think anyone wants to watch a 30-minute video. They're detailed enough that you should be able to read through them without, missing any. I don't think a video would add anything. I think you can read through these and get the information you need just fine. So what I've done here is I've provided, these are the learning objectives of the class. So at WSU, all English 402 classes are designed to teach students or help students learn these main objectives. Each class might do them slightly differently, because there's a million ways you can learn these objectives, but these are the main learning objectives of the course. The idea is that by the time you go through the class, then you will have, to some degree, practiced these skills, learn them if you've never, practiced them before or practiced them more and developed in some way if you have some familiarity before you get here. For each one of them, I've broken it down. So I have the learning objective here at the top, and then I have some specific examples of skills. Sometimes these learning objectives are written kind of in teacher speak. What does this actually mean? Well, here are some examples of real world skills that you can use in the workplace that connects to that learning objective. And then for each one, I discuss how the different projects this semester helped you practice it. This slide looks similar on each learning objective, but it's not, because even though we use the same projects throughout the semester, each one helped practice a different skill in different ways. So make sure you read these slides. I talk about how this particular project, for example, the editing project, helped learn this skill. And this slide's going to look, even though it looks the same here, there's different information because it's, the editing project helped us to learn several different skills. Each one of the projects this semester helped you practice these skills in different ways. You've been practicing these skills over and over and over again in various ways throughout the semester. So I'm hoping that this will help you. Sometimes writing these reports can be difficult. It can be hard at the end of the semester when you're extremely tired to figure out what it is that I actually learned. So by explaining the learning objective, breaking it down into concrete skills, and talking about how I try to design each project to help you learn that skill, I'm hoping this will help you, understand what it is that you're taking away from this class this semester and give you some concrete focus for what you might want to discuss in your own report. But if you've learned something that's not on these slides or that's outside these slides, that's okay too. You can also discuss that. So I break it down, each one, and then I give you some tips for writing a report. So I recommend that you go through and read your reflective memos. Look for any trends or patterns in those memos. Do you talk about the same thing over and over again? That might be something you might want to talk about in your report. Some people have written very detailed reflective memos. You might want to revise some of that information and put it into your report. Some people didn't write very in-depth in the reflective memos, so you might have to generate more information. That's okay. Really take time to reflect about what you knew before you got here, before you took this class. Think about what your challenges were, what was frustrating, or what was really fun and interesting, and what you're really proud of. Really think about, the ups and downs and, the things that you've practiced this semester before you sit down to write. It's going to make it a little bit easier to kind of, write something. So you don't have to kind of figure out while you're writing. And then I recommend going through and choosing specific examples from your work to write about. This helps you to keep your report specific, which we all know is a really important part of technical and professional writing. It also helps it to stay unique to you because you're discussing your particular work. And it helps to make this a lot easier to write and a little bit quicker to write. Again, remember that most technical and professional writing is 90% planning, 10% doing. And then really focus on telling a story. Don't just list a bunch of random information about your day. Really trying to create a cohesive narrative about what you learned with like a clear beginning, middle, and end. And the qualities of an excellent learning report, again, they embody the things we've talked about this semester. So we've really worked on things like document design, features of a technical document, concise writing, use of visuals, things like that. They're in depth. They don't necessarily have to be very long, but they're detailed. They have specific examples. They discuss their reasoning. I mean, they really kind of dive deeply into something. They're unique. They don't sound alike. They don't sound like every single person's, reflective report. It doesn't sound like anyone could have written it. It's really individual to their specific learning process and their work. And they reflect. They don't summarize. So I know what you did. So just telling me I redesigned a document isn't really reflection. Everyone redesigned a document. A reflection is something about like what you knew before or what shifted in your thinking, what was, for example, it's like I had never thought about document design before. And so when I was doing this project, I realized X, Y, and Z. That's more of a reflection because it gives us kind of the behind the scenes, the sort of journey that your mind went on. It's not just telling me what you did, right? So hopefully these slides will give you a really nice in-depth overview of the different skills that you've practiced this semester, I think you'll be really surprised. You've done an incredible amount of work, and I think you'll be really surprised at all the things that you've practiced. And I hope it helps you to kind of brainstorm some specific things that you might want to discuss in your report. Okay, there are a couple of variations for this assignment. So by the end of the semester, I would prefer it if you wrote a written report, but sometimes, writing is not the best way that everyone learns. You can adapt this assignment to either a presentation or an infographic. However, you need to understand that it still needs to be in depth, right? It still needs to have the same elements. You need to discuss at least 3 to 5 specific things that you've learned this semester. You still need to use examples from your own work. It still needs to be in depth and specific, and all those things, and unique to you. So sometimes, a presentation might be an easier way of doing this. A lot of people have treated the presentation almost like a portfolio presentation, and that works really well. The problem with a presentation is you really should practice your presentation before you record it. You have to record it as a video. Don't just submit some slides. And it needs to be under 20 minutes. One time someone did this and it was an hour long. I can't watch an hour long video, and I can't watch 20-hour long videos. So write a script, practice it, and keep it under 20 minutes. And you would submit it as a video. You could do like a Zoom, use Zoom to record it or something. You could submit it as an MP4. You could make it private on your YouTube account and give me a password. Like however you want to get me that video is fine. You could also provide me the slides so I can kind of, follow along with you. If you do an infographic, beware that you cannot create a one-page infographic over everything you've done this semester. So it will be a longer infographic, but you can create an infographic. Again, make sure it has specific examples, quotes or screenshots from your work, 3 to 5 things that you've learned, clear beginning, middle, and end, again, should embody what we've practiced this semester. Since we did practice infographics and presentations this semester, that's why I allow you to do that as an option. I've had some really great ones in the past, but I've also had people that unfortunately just didn't go in depth enough. So if you're planning on doing that, just remember it still needs to be in depth. It still needs to be specific, and you can always come by and show me what you're working on and get some feedback before it's due. Anybody can come by and get any feedback on your learning report before you submit it. So I hope this video clears up kind of what we're doing for your final learning report. Like I said, this page here in Canvas will give you the 2 examples. It will also link to these review slides, and the learning report assignment instructions are in Canvas. It's due on May 1st by midnight, but you could get it done earlier if you'd like. One of the reasons why I'm giving you time over the next couple weeks is so that if you want to, complete this report and finish it, by the end of next week, you can. You cannot get an extension on this. I cannot offer an extension because final grades are due on the 5th, and then I turn right around on the 6th and start teaching a summer class. So I can't offer any more extensions. All final, revisions and makeups are due by the 28th, and then this is due absolute latest by the 1st. But like I said, you can get it done early and turn it in early if you'd like. And I will get caught up on all the revisions soon, and then I will grade these typically as they come in. So if you have any questions about anything, if you have any issues, please let me know. Again, you can come talk to me in office hours or by appointment. We can brainstorm this project, things that you might want to include. You can show me what you're working on. I'm happy to give you feedback or answer your questions that you may have. Thank you for a really good semester. And please keep in touch. Remember that once you're my student, you're always my student. So if you ever need any help or feedback on anything that you're writing, please let me know. I'm happy. I've helped people in the past with like personal statements, when they're applying for graduate school or, anything that, you might need help with. I'm here. So if I don't see you, then have a wonderful summer.